before I explain the picture on the screen, remember they're editing the pictures. They're trying to demonize me, right? They add some kind of vampire look or something, you know. In that picture, the original picture, you could tell that I was a younger person, around 17 or so, you know. It took me a while to narrow it down in my videos. I used to think I was at 15, and then after a while, I realized, I'm like, no, that must be after this, that. So it was somewhere around 17, like 16 and a half, 17, something like that. Okay, that is the current estimate. You have to understand what they're trying to do. I think Star Wars is a pretty good example. In Star Wars, both the Sith and the Jedi are based on evil pagan ideas. Okay, so we look at the church, for example. The church is a great example. There's people that look like the Jedi characters in the church. Okay, and there's a lot of like child molestation, sexual abuse. I've covered this in my videos many times, really. You know, in the churches. Okay, and what we know here is that Star Wars is based on this, and for more than one reason. One is the baby Horus in Rome. The baby Horus in Rome wasn't the same as the baby Horus in Egypt, in the Old Kingdom. In Rome, they sexually molested little kids. Okay, look up pederasty, Greco-Roman pederasty, Athenian pederasty, Cretan pederasty. So there's different flavors. They did it in different ways. So it's very commonplace. And we see the Harpocrates. It's very much from Greece, right? It's a Greek kind of a theft of Egyptian mythology, right? And there's some degree of these people mixed it in. It's kind of like Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, where she brings the Egyptian statues to Rome and causes all kinds of controversy, right? She influences it. So it was before that, and so it was with the Harpocrates, okay? You know, before that in Greece. So these Jedi guys are modeled after child molesters, and this is also how the gay community really established itself in politics and the business world. Okay, they made strong ties by turning out little kids, and those little kids would later do that. It's also a lot of the lawsuits in the churches. Okay, so they basically molested these kids. A lot of them turn out to be gay. Then they have a lot of money from the lawsuits in church, and they're part of gay groups and so on and so forth. And they really got their agenda across. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? So you look at the picture, you say, wow, why does this guy look evil, and his little brother looks like an out-of-touch nerd who is more the type in that picture is more the type they're trying to elevate. Okay, you can see that he's sagging a little bit. There's a degree of, you know, he was influenced by me and the culture during the time, right? You know, his older brother, you know, hanging out with various thugs and so on and so forth when I was younger. And that impressed upon him a certain way of thinking. And then when he went to school in Seattle, he started, you know, they started impressing upon him a certain way of thinking as well. And by the time he leaves that school and goes to Oxford Academy, which is a high school, that's a high school he's going to, he's around 16 or 17. I think one of the things that sticks out is, you know, when I was young and crushed on women, I was a lot more attached to the idea of love. You know, I felt love a lot more deeply than everyone else in the school and anyone else I've ever come across. Okay, it was pretty straightforward that I love harder than everyone else. It's part of why I love God more than everyone else, and I'm more loyal to God. So my love is deeper. Okay, and so when I got my heart broken, you know, that's probably a year after getting my heart broken or so. In the picture, I started really working out. Okay, and and I start being a lot tougher, okay, than my little brother was, for example, around the same age. Now this is very key. It was already my personality to think in terms of being a warrior more than it was his. And then I got my heart broken, you know, and so boom. It's kind of like the Shaka Zulu effect, right? Where he's a more nice African kind of person, and I'm like the Shaka Zulu warrior king emerging. Okay, so you know, and that also has implications on the Igbos as well. There's a lot of diversity. You know, one of the most diverse peoples, ethnic groupings in the world is the Igbos. In fact, they say the Igbos are more of a tribe, more of a nation than a tribe, because there's so much diversity. Okay, some are short, some are tall, some are mixed with Africans all the way from East Africa, some are mixed more with West Africans. You know, there's all kinds of stuff like this. As various tribes came together and merged together to make the Igbo nation, which is considered a tribe. Also, the language slightly differs as the story goes from village to village. Okay, they have slightly different interpretations of names and stuff like this at times as well, from what I gather. All right, so you also see the focus, right? See how he's playing basketball and I'm flexing. Now, part of it is what happens, you know, when you work out versus when you play basketball. And of course, you know, I'm wearing the basketball shirt, jersey as well. Okay, and don't forget they edited the picture to try to make it so I look more gender neutral-ish. Okay, and they you know, I guess they were trying to pull a fast one on me, so they didn't want to do it too dramatically initially, and they'll probably edit it more after I upload it. So you're gonna lose a lot of it. You know, I am not shaped like G.I. Joe or police officers or thick people. Okay, you know, my frame was, you know, I was probably about 170 pounds in that picture, probably 6'4". That's probably around the time I stopped growing, right? But I'm only like 170 pounds, and over the course of my life I only gained like 20 more pounds. So, you know, it looks like I'm maybe, you know, 190 or something, 185 in that picture, but I'm really just 170. Okay, and that has to do with what happens when you work out, your body, your arms get swole. So I must have been working out. I remember I really put an emphasis on doing bench press and biceps and triceps. So my arm was big. Okay, it didn't look that great. It didn't look that proportionate because I put such an emphasis on building that upper body strength in that particular way. Not so much pull-ups or back exercises at that time. Okay, it was bench press and bicep curls and you know, tricep exercises. Okay, you know, so think about it like this now too. This is where you're gonna know I'm right. If you're like kind of I don't know, you know, you're gonna know I'm right for sure. There's a reason why I put the Hellraiser picture, okay, on the screen too. That evil pig-looking Hellraiser picture, okay, because that is the environment. Okay, during this, when I was 17 or so, okay, it was the 90s, right? You know, gang banging was at a pinnacle in the 80s and the 90s in terms of utter sheer violence and sheer forceful blows, right? Inspired by like Mike Tyson and so on. Sheer tough kind of interactions, right? After about 2000, it starts to drastically change form. This has to do with breeding, and the sexual agenda of America was so that a lot of nerds were doing most of the breeding, a lot of mediocre people, you know, they were all trying to team up on the alpha, right? Kind of the lion, the rich, and the wardrobe effect. A lot of goblins instead of a lot of alpha types, right? You know, what most people consider alpha types, not the moral alpha, but, you know. So that starts occurring, right? We don't see another Tookie, for example, rise up, basically, kind of thing. We don't see, you know, very angry kind of Compton. Even the Compton guys start changing. Watts was a lot more tough back then, and some of that toughness was in the San Jose area, okay? And people from Oakland and San Francisco and Vallejo and so on and so forth would find their way to San Jose, and people from LA as well, and so on and so forth. So, in fact, I went to boarding school in Southern California, and I went to reform school in Southern California, and then got kicked out of that and went to a behavior modification program in Idaho. So what is the appropriate and sane response to an evil society? Okay, it's you take on. Think of a warrior faced with a dragon, and the dragon is blowing fire on him. Okay, the fires of hell, the flames of hell, and he's got his shield up and he's blocking it. Right? What kind of face is he making? Okay, now. Remember, the face, they're trying to put white in it. They're trying to put crypto Jew and white in the face, right? And occultist. That's not how I looked back then. My eyes were sharper looking than that was, okay? And my face was more righteous indignation, not vampire. I didn't look like a vampire, okay? I looked a little bit young, okay? I looked young. I didn't look extremely handsome at that point in that picture, strange enough. Okay, around that time, I was handsome. After I got my heart broken, there was a lot of bitterness that came over me. But it was righteous indignation. I said, why did she date this scoundrel and break my heart? And her dad wanted me to guess what race she is. Okay, and he called my house, and she acted like it was insane. I've had people call me before and say, oh, hi, it's me. and da da da. We just wanted to know da 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 da. Where so it's not out of the ordinary for someone to look up your number and to call you up and to try to say, here's my chance. You see in the movies, right, where they go to the window and say, hey, what are you doing here, little Timmy? You know, so the chick will say that, and he'll be like, I just want you to hear me out. What's going on? And then she's, oh, that's so sweet, right? So I tried to do something like that, and it didn't work. And their dads give me a hard time. You know, America's a racist society. And he asked me, what race do you think she is? And da da da. He said he's going to take great pleasure in denying me a chance with his daughter and stuff like this. Okay. And so I was very angry, and I was angry at the world, and I assumed that she was Hispanic. So I thought of white people and Hispanic as really adverse to me having an attractive female. Then songs would come out like Carlos Santana and this other guy talking about Maria Maria, and they're doing capoeira, which is a martial art, in the video at some points in the video, right? So there was a lot of, set backwards is T's. This was something they did deliberately, just like Star Wars, right? Anakin Skywalker. And I am the real Skywalker in real life, and the occultists, even American occultists, have known this my whole life. They knew that it was the Igbo, Kuro Obi black belt, right? It's their language. Their language is derived from African languages, right? So that's why Obi in Chinese and Japanese, right, means belt. Okay, it's the word that they use for belt, sash, belt. Okay, and it is originally an African word, right? Meaning King, Heart, Hut, Center, Essence, Core. Okay, King of Kings, martial art leader. To Satanists, it means witchcraft and elder. Okay, because they want to elevate a bunch of bitter old elders over. And Horus is also a deity of young men, right? The Skywalking deity of the idea of God's son coming down, the spirit of God's son in the Pharaoh, in the king. And we have the idea of the genius, which is the serpent, okay, in Greco-Roman culture, and they believed that their spirit was a serpent spirit, okay, a beast, right, animas, right, meaning spirit or soul, and where we get the word animal, and animation, okay. So obviously I was right, and I'm still right, to take on a stance of focused moral intensity when surrounded by these demons in this world. And it's not a coincidence that Will Smith looks sort of similar to me, and so does Barack Obama. He's in the movie I Am Legend. You see in I Am Legend 2, he has the gray hair, and they talk about Jesus coming back when he's old and so on and so forth in the Bible. Okay, and of course the Bible is Bible, and he wants it his way, and they've been trying to force me to do it their way, and I'm not going along with it, and that's part of why I'm persecuted. I could have had a lot of money, a lot of women, a lot of nice things if I, decided to, if I chose to portray God and be bisexual and so on and so forth. Okay, but I didn't. And you could also see back then, I was, what you can see from the original picture, that it's original picture-ish. One thing they did somewhat right is I'm angry. You have to really zoom in on the eyes. One thing they also did was they made the eyes bug-eyed, right? And I've shown that in other pictures. I don't know if they're going to change it or not, but some pictures, they look bug-eyed in that picture when I took a picture of that picture, and some picture there's no bug-eyed, it's just sharp eyes. And they turn the sharp-eyed pictures into kind of gayish looking, and they turn the other one into bug-eyed and gay looking, and it's kind of white middle. Think about a white kind of guy from a small town who's German or something, in the military, and that they added something like that. And they also added certain types of Jews, like this crypto Jews who played in the movie Lost Boys as the vampires. When you compare that to that, you'll see exactly what they did, and obviously it's not respectable and so on and so forth.